Hi and welcome to this video about the first miracle of Jesus, where he turned water into wine at a wedding feast in Cana. The Apostle John tells us all about the wonderful story in John 2 verses 1 to 11. On the third day there was a wedding at Cana in Galilee, and the mother of Jesus was there. Jesus was also invited to the wedding with his disciples. When the wine ran out, the mother of Jesus said to him, "They have no wine." And Jesus said to her, "Woman, what does this have to do with me? My hour has not yet come." His mother said to the servants, "Do whatever he tells you." Now, there were 6 stone water jars there for the Jewish rites of purification, each holding 20 or 30 gallons. Jesus said to the servants, "Fill the jars with water," and they filled them up to the brim. And he said to them, "Now draw some out and take it to the master of the feast." So they took it. When the master of the feast tasted the water, now become wine, and did not know where it came from, though the servants who had drawn the water knew, the master of the feast called the bridegroom and said to him, "Everyone serves the good wine first, and when people have drunk freely, then the poor wine. But you have kept the good wine until now." This, the first of his signs Jesus did at Cana in Galilee, and manifested his glory, and his disciples believed. I would now like to delve a little deeper into this story and to touch on some of the lessons that we all can learn from this miracle. Now, for a start, this was early in the ministry of Jesus. He had recruited his first 5 disciples. John and Andrew had been disciples of John the Baptist, and on hearing John's testimony, left their jobs and followed Jesus, quickly followed by Peter, Philip and Nathanael. They all followed Jesus because they believed that Jesus was the Messiah. However, at the point of the wedding feast, Jesus had not yet revealed publicly who he was. In those days, wedding feasts went on for several days, and it would have been a great embarrassment for the bridegroom if the wine had run out before the end of the feast. It's interesting that Mary approached Jesus about the problem. Now, we know she obviously was aware that he was the Son of God. Perhaps she was impatient for something to happen. Or maybe, as her eldest son, she wanted him to do something, anything, to help. Either way, when she approached Jesus, he was in no doubt what was expected of him, and he talked to her saying, "Woman, what does this have to do with me? My hour has not yet come." Now, when I first read this, I thought, if I had said that to my mother, I would have rightly expected a clipped ear, no matter how old I was. But this is different. This is the first sign that things were about to change. Here, Jesus shows that he is no longer under the authority of his earthly parent, or that his earthly family could expect to have any preference. This is again emphasised later on when Mary and the family went to meet Jesus while he was preaching. In Mark 3 verses 31 to 35 it says, "And his mother and his brothers came, and standing outside, they sent to him and called him. And a crowd was sitting around him, and they said to him, 'Your mother and your brothers are outside seeking you.' And he answered them, Who are my mother and my brothers? And looking about at those who sat around him, he said, Here are my mother and my brothers. For whoever does the will of God, he is my brother and sister and mother. Now I believe that Mary knew exactly what was happening, because she does not answer him, but says to the servants, do whatever he tells you. Isn't that the way we should act when we're in need? Submit ourselves to Christ and do whatever he tells us to do? By attending the wedding feast, Jesus blessed this marriage with his presence. There are echoes of his own marriage with the church and the wedding feast that we can all look forward to. This miracle emphasizes the need to invite Jesus into all of our marriages, through our prayers in good times and bad. And this is especially important at a time when marriage is being devalued and rejected. This miracle was the start of the new, the end of the covenant of the law and the beginning of the new covenant of grace. The first miracle of Moses was the turning of water into blood, causing terror and fear. But here, in the first miracle of Jesus, he turns water into wine, causing joy and happiness. The stone jars were for the purification of the wedding guests, part of the law. But they were used to meet a need, to avoid condemnation and shame for the bridegroom. And it was given through grace and mercy. The master of the feast said the wine was the finest. And isn't that true of how Christ meets our needs? He always meets our needs and quite often provides over and above, but never less than our needs. Jesus performed this miracle away from Jerusalem and the religious elite and the important people of the time. No doubt he could have gained far more attention performing miracles amongst those people. But Jesus never sought the approval of men. Instead, the miracle occurred at a family wedding, and not even before the guests. He involved the servants. He made no show of what he was doing. He instructed the servants to fill the jars up to the brim with water, and then to draw some out and take it to the master of the feast. Now this reminds me of the miracle healing of the 10 lepers who Jesus instructed to go to the priest to be declared clean. The 10 lepers set off in faith. Nevertheless, they had leprosy when they left Jesus, but were clean when they arrived before the priest. Much as these servants set off in faith with the water, and when they arrived at the master of the feast table, they were carrying the finest wine. Now we can note that this was on the 3rd day. And when the 5 disciples saw, they believed. They had followed Jesus because they believed he was the Messiah. But this miracle strengthened their faith. It was on the 3rd day, after Christ was crucified, that he arose as he said he would. And they remembered all that he had said. And their faith was strengthened. And from there, the church was born. Amen. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you found it of interest and that it encourages you. I hope to see you again on this channel. Goodbye and God bless.